Hello and welcome back to Off Grid Style. I'm Nikki and I'm so glad to have you. Today we are talking about places not to go after an SHTF situation occurs, whatever it might be, a disaster, natural phenomenon or issues, or a man-made SHTF situation. These are places not to go when those things happen. So let's find out where we shouldn't go. Obviously, in the aftermath of a crisis of any sort, as I've already mentioned, you really have to think strategically about what you're doing and where you're going in order to survive. Being able to navigate a post-SHTF world requires a huge amount of knowledge and understanding of potential dangers and safe havens that you have available to you. I am going to talk to you today about 10 different places you definitely need to avoid after an SHTF situation happens. Number 10 is probably going to surprise you and give you some alternative strategies of survival in these situations. Hey, if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. The first place is grocery stores. The number one reason why you don't want to go there is the risk of chaos and competition for the resources of the grocery store. Your alternative strategy is a pre-stocked safe house. Now, when I say safe house, everybody's like, Nick, I don't have another house. I got my house. I get that. Think about getting a small air-cooled or air-conditioned storage unit. 5 by 5. It's not that expensive, and it's a perfect place for you to set a separate stockpile of food that also gives you more room in your home if you are in an urban environment and space is limited. So you want to avoid those crowded grocery stores because the people in there are going to be prone to, God, you've seen it. I know y'all seen it. Panicking, looting, civil unrest, assaults. Hopefully that's all. And you just don't want to get in that mess. The whole point of this thing is to prepare yourself and stay away from all of that. Instead, think about prioritizing that safe house or storage unit or whatever you want to call it that you can store things in and get to pretty easily. That's another thing you have to think of. How easily can I get to wherever this place is that I've stored this stuff? The second place you do not want to go after an SHTF situation is the hospital. The risk of going to a hospital is it's going to be overwhelmed, it's going to be unsafe, you're going to have people that are wigging out, and again, like the grocery store, you're going to have possible conflict of a physical variety, which you don't want to deal with. The alternative strategy here is home-based medical preparedness. Hospitals are going to be facing overwhelming demand. People, like I said, wigging out, screaming, babies flying out, whatever the case might be, and it's going to be unsafe. Instead, invest in home-based medical preparedness, including first aid training. At the very least, you should have first aid training, if not going beyond that, and a well-equipped medical kit. The third place not to go to after an SHTF situation is a pharmacy. The reason is, obviously, it's a target for looting, and it has limited supplies. But the thing is that a lot of those supplies are ones that, let's say, people who have certain addictions are going to go to first because they feel like they can get a whole lot of the stuff that they want to have or that they want and then can sell. You don't want to be dealing with that mess. So stay away from the pharmacies. Instead, stockpile medications. And this includes herbal remedies, of course, as you all know, near and dear to my heart. So stockpile the medicines. Pharmacies are going to be a huge target on their roofs after an SHTF situation happens. It happens after every little SHTF situation happens, like a hurricane. That's the first place everybody goes, there, and for some reason they go get TVs. I'm not sure why that is, but anyway, because you have no power, but be that as it may. Stay away from the pharmacies. Instead, teach yourself, learn about herbal alternatives, and stockpile essential medications. Check out Jase Medical, Jase medical.com. Check them out, see if that works for you. Also, let your doctor know, hey, I am concerned about X, Y, and Z. Could you write me a prescription for an additional month's worth of my medication? Banks and ATMs. This is another one you do not want to be near when SHTF happens. Even though we all kind of know that they're going to be prone to robbery and economic instability, obviously, that money is going to be worthless within a couple days in a true, real SHTF situation. But your average person doesn't think that way. That would be the kind that would go rob a bank. So they're going to go hit up the bank thinking, ooh, I can get all this money. Okay, well, yeah, you can burn it in a few days because that's all it's going to be good for by then. But you go for it. You have a good time and you do you. I am going to stay away from the bank. Keep some cash on hand. At all times, keep it in your home or somewhere you can get to it. Keep some cash on hand. And I'm not talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm talking about small denominations of bills, ones, fives, tens, maybe a few 20s. Keep that on hand for that first few days after an SHTF situation happens, when people aren't realizing that eventually that's going to be worthless. Also, look into barter items, buying additional of things you can afford that you know that people are going to need. Number 5, stay off the main roads. There's going to be congestion at the very least. You could risk roadblocks and ambushes. If you are attempting to hightail it out of there, these are all things you could be facing. These are not things you want to be facing. I don't care how many bullets and guns and etc. you have. All it takes is one for you to be out of the picture. So you definitely want to avoid your main roads. This is where your compass and your maps and your already done checking out of your territory has come into play, because you know to use the back roads and other alternative routes. Any downtown areas, you want to avoid these, period, because a lot of people are going to congregate there. Generally speaking, downtown areas have a lot of different stores, so people are going to congregate there. You're going to see civil unrest, you're going to see violence, and it's limited resources for the amount of people that are going to end up going to those places. So stay away from downtowns. Instead, look for a more rural retreat, whatever that may be for you. In our case, it's the cabin, but for a lot of people, maybe it's a hotel miles and miles away, or maybe it's a friend's land hunting lease, or whatever the case might be, that is miles and miles away. Those are the things you need to be looking for. And in those natural retreats, when you're thinking of them, if this is not something that you already have the ability to get to yourself or own, think about ones that have access to natural resources, so that this way you have a more sustainable environment. Number 7 on the list of places to stay away from in SHTF is gas stations. In any SHTF situation, I can tell you this from experience with hurricanes, everybody flocks to the gas station. They all run out of gas. And then you're stuck there, or you don't have very far you can go. Your better, safer bet is to always have at least a half a tank of gas in your car. As soon as you hit half a tank, go to the gas station, fill back up again. Also, keep additional gas on hand somewhere safe, not in your home, but around your home. Keep it on hand so that you've got it, and you need to rotate through this. Don't just leave it there for 5 years, because it will be useless, but you do need to rotate through it, but have that on hand so that you are prepared for an SHTF situation. The other thing to do is make sure that you have enough gas to get where you have to go, that retreat, the cabin, wherever it might be. Make sure you have enough gas on hand to get there. Hardware stores and big box stores that are hardware and all the other stuff. You definitely don't want to be visiting any of these places. As I've already stated, for some reason SHTF happens and a whole bunch of people go grab TVs. I do not understand that, but hey, that's just me. Anyway, do not avoid, I should say, at all costs, hardware stores and those big box stores. There's a high demand for people going in there thinking, oh, I'm going to get myself all kinds of stuff while, you know, maybe the power's out and there's no electricity and there's no security. And there's also a huge potential for violence when you go to those types of places when these things are happening. Alternatively, you should already have all your tools. Make sure that you have every tool you need, even if you save up and buy one a month, whatever you have to do, make sure you have all the tools you need already. Number 9 is sporting good stores. This is an interesting one because there's going to be a whole lot of people, high demand, and there's a potential for weaponized conflict. Don't go to the sporting goods store. Obviously, they've got all kinds of great gear. They've got weapons. They have all those neat things. But you should already have all these things in hand. You should not be scrambling at the last minute to go get a tent or to go get your personal safety device of choice or more replacement ammunition for your personal safety device of choice. You should already have these things. So this way you can avoid having to go to a sporting goods store for any reason whatsoever. Basically, SHTF, avoid everybody. I think that's kind of the point here. Number 10, and the surprise in this whole thing, FEMA shelters or any of those other kind of shelters. They're going to be overcrowded and they're going to have limited resources. And if it is a true SHTF situation, chances are supply lines are down, roads are blocked or impassable. They're probably not going to get any more. So now all you have is a whole bunch of people demanding that FEMA or whichever government agency it is gets them more of whatever it is they want, food, water, etc., and they don't have it. Now all of a sudden you have a lot of angry people. You don't want to be in that situation. Your alternative is your own safe zone. So in these situations, it is imperative that you pre-plan, obviously. You do need to think about these things, and I thought that the FEMA shelters was particularly interesting. Who'd have thunk it, but they're absolutely, I mean, I'm absolutely right. When I researched this, I was like, oh, look, I would have never thought of that one. But it is absolutely true. All I have to do is think back to the football stadium in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina came through and how horrid the conditions were there at the end. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Let me know what you thought. You know I love to hear from you. You know I'm going to answer you back. Like, comment, subscribe, all those good things, and I'll see you again soon.